Welcome to the Better Podcast with me, Jen Baird, and one of the most interesting people that I get to work with at the moment, Will Alexander. Ta-da!
Hello, good to be here. You're one of the most interesting people I get to work with. So,
I love you.
Feelings mutual.
Just seeing you recently on stage at AREC.
Yeah.
Oh my God, like actual world famous in real estate. I thought, well, given that you are now world famous in real estate, you should probably come on the podcast. So thank you.
I see this is all about numbers and analytics for you, right? That's, I'm a pawn.
Not at all. You have got a really interesting story to share, and we're going to get into that. So before we start talking about your fabulous new job at Bayleys as our head of innovation, I'm really keen for you to share how you ended up in real estate and doing what you're doing. So I know that your career started as a professional cyclist. So how do you go from having giant thighs and biking up hills to being in property management?
It's a good question. It's a bit of a story. Well, I was happily riding my bike over in the States, doing a good job, riding on a big pro team, and went around a corner in Chicago at about 70 k's an hour, came off, tire rolled off the rim. It was a hot day. Hit my head really, really hard, broke my jaw, shattered my jaw, and couldn't really ride properly after that. And so I got back to New Zealand, had a big surgery, continued to try and race, couldn't race. And I said to Mum, what do I do? Because I had done engineering before I went into cycling. Do I go back into that? And she said, well, why don't you try real estate? And at the time, Mum was the CEO of Barfits. And I was like, okay, sweet. So I saw a couple of property management jobs up. And I didn't actually get the first two, which I was thinking, hold on a minute, Mum's the CEO. I thought this was going to be easy. But eventually got a job in the CBD at Barfits, and that was with Graham Smith back when he was branch manager, and never looked back. So it was just fate, I guess. I don't know. I would have continued to race and had big ambitions for that. But, and then here I am. Yeah.
So look, over your time at Barfoot and Thompson and sort of growing into property management roles, you really made a career of it. You got to know it really well.
Yeah.
What was the drive? Why were you so engaged in that part of the business?
I was never bored, which is great. Real estate is so much fun. There's always stuff going on. Every day in property management, I was like, oh my God, I never thought I'd ever hear or deal with this sort of thing. But it's quite interesting. I mean, coming from it from I guess I think like an engineer, and I just instantly saw opportunity. I vividly remember using, I think it was Console Gateway back then, the software that we used. And I was like, why doesn't it talk to that, and why doesn't it do that? And I could just all of us very quickly just see potential to be better. That's really interesting. So even back then, your little engineering brain, or your big engineering brain probably, is whirring away in the background. So I was going to start asking you about why you made the move into Renti, which is a proptech business. But I think the answer is really obvious. But tell me how you ended up at Renti. Well, yeah, that's, I guess, timing. But I was at Property Brokers at the time. I was the general manager there and loved working there. In fact, I'd just seen a bunch of them over at AREC and love those guys. They're such cool people, just good realtors. And I was really happy. I mean, we'd gone from 45 branches to 84 while I was at Property Brokers. What was really cool about that company is I got to get to know provincial New Zealand. You know, how do you make a business flourish in Tikawiti or Tamaranui, or I'd go down to Westport or Hokitika or Greymouth, and it really tested my skill. And, you know, how do you make a business profitable in those areas, and the importance of getting things right in small communities. You know, if you're a dickhead, you get pushed out very quickly. If you annoy the electrician, guess what? He's the only electrician. So pay your bills on time. But So I was really happy, and Renti came out in 2018, and I was heavily involved with it from inception through to delivering the first product. And one thing led to the next, and one day I got a call from Russell Smith, who's the founder, and said, "Hey, what do you think about joining us?" And that's kind of where it started.
So for people who don't know about Renti, can you explain what the product is?
Yeah, Renti is application workflow for tenants who want to apply for a property. It's extended beyond that now, so it also allows people to book for viewings, attend viewings, apply for the properties. It's fully integrated with all the listing platforms. It does all the credit checks, all the vetting, generates the tenancy agreement, and pushes all that information through API to the trust account. So it's that front end piece of the workflow that had been made really easy. Good technology and workflow. So, look, I had just won the Innovation Award at Property Brokers for building a dashboard and data and joining all the dots and insights, and that call came, and I was like, okay, well, I was really happy where I was, but this was, I'm always up for a challenge. It's just in my DNA. And I'm always wanting to learn and test my skill. And I love putting myself in uncomfortable positions.
Yes. So what did you learn while you were at Renti, or how did being there change your perspective of systems or data or user experience or any of that sort of thing?
I learned how to be an accountant in steroids at Renti.
To be an accountant?
On steroids as the CEO. I didn't actually learn much about technology, and they were bootstrapping it, so didn't raise money. And I understand that that approach and that strategy, and long term, if you can get through those early stages, then you retain majority ownership, and totally get it. But it was incredibly difficult, and that business model, although it was well thought of, there is downsides, and it was very hard to forecast. So to try and grow a business when your revenue month on month could vary up to sort of 30-40%, it was very, very difficult. So it was buried in books the whole time.
Wow,
and
amazing.
I didn't learn much about technology.
That's interesting. So you go from Property Brokers, which is, really sizable real estate business, to a bootstrap startup.
Yeah.
And then here you are.
Yeah. It
bubbled back to real estate.
Bubbled back to real estate. I was drawn back, and I knew I needed to get back into it, and I didn't know Bayleys was going to be the way it was. I just missed real estate. I like being in real estate businesses. I like being involved with all the different aspects of real estate, and knew that I could hopefully one day do both.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
So what drew you to Bayleys specifically? Why are you here?
Well, Stuart Bent has got a lot to do with it, old Stewie. I got talking to him, and he's a hell of a good guy and a good mate, and they were looking for someone to get Auckland right and grow Auckland, and that's kind of how it started. I knew I wanted to get back into it. I've always looked at the Bayleys brand and always admired it, and heard stories over the years about what it does and where it sits in the market, and it was timing, Jen. It was timing. So much of my life revolves around timing, but yeah.
Fantastic. So you get in, you start running the Auckland residential property management business.
Yep.
You must have very quickly started seeing those opportunities that just sort of flicker in your peripheral vision.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I knew on day one what my job was. Very clearly, I was walking up the stairs, the main stairs at Bayleys, and someone said, "Oh, hey, what are you up to? You're new here?" And I said, "Yes, I am. I'm well." And they're like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm heading up property management." I'm like, "Oh, do we do that?" I was like, "Okay." That's strategy number one is awareness. It's as simple as that. Well, I need to make sure people in Bayleys are aware that we do it. People outside of Bayleys are aware that we do it. And that sort of was the genesis of what I knew I had to do. It was simple. And since then, it's just been advocating for property management, growing, releasing initiatives that increase visibility and support the sales business, like the appraisal app. I came into a business that was structured incredibly well through Ken McRae, who is a bit of a mentor for me, but he restructured it in a way that it used to be. So when I started as a property manager, we were contractors. I had to get my sales license.
That's right.
Yeah, and we were paid a percentage of what the portfolio generated, and then the Real Estate Act came out 2008, and we were all moved to employees in 2010. And that changed the dynamic entirely. And so when I came back to Bayleys in Auckland, they're all contractors. They all get paid 50% of what their portfolio generates. And through that, Ken solved the biggest issue in property management, which is attrition of staff. And he solved that because people are highly remunerated. They're rewarded for their hard work if they grow their business, bring on a big chunk of clients or properties. Their pay goes up, proportional to that. And we don't have turnover of staff.
Amazing.
And that's it. Everything I've seen over the years, Jen, the common denominator of successful businesses is the team have stayed together for at least a year. That was it. That was the key ingredient. And that's what Ken had solved by taking the structure. And we have a phenomenal culture. We don't have turnover of staff. We have clients that have dealt with the same property manager for decades. That's so unique.
It's interesting you say that about, people who have been together for a long time. And, that's something that is really obvious in this business as a whole.
Yes.
You come into Bayleys and there is this group of people here that have been working together for decades and they know each other really well. They know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and it makes them really powerful.
Yep.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Now you touched on the rental app, and I want to. So you've done this. You've grown this property management business. You've done all of that stuff, and then along comes the rental appraisal app. And I want to get into this because this is the beginning of the journey to become our head of innovation, where you find this opportunity, your engineering brain turns on, and whoosh. You're away.
Whoosh,
Where
yes,
did the idea? Yeah, it was easy. You made it look easy. Where did the idea come from, and how did you get started? How did you get the green light to even do it?
Well, I didn't get the green light. I didn't get a yes or a no, which is good enough for me. So, yeah, there's that risk piece in me. Put myself in uncomfortable positions. I don't know why I do it, but look, I guess we wanted to. We were at the time going, okay, there's AI is coming out. It's prevalent. Everyone's talking about it. How do we use this technology? How do we understand its capability? So we took a task-based approach, and rental appraisals is a classic one where you do, for every 100 that you do, you get 3% return or conversion rate. So high volume, low conversion rate, but really important in terms of brand awareness, getting all these appraisals out there with the Bayleys brand on it, but also making sure that the sales agents are well supported. That's a key trigger for all the growth that we've had in Auckland and around the country, is that referral business. And so how do we streamline that? And that was the appraisal piece. And it was the hardest part about it was not the AI, it was the maths behind it, the regression model using, it's the strategy is a random forest, which is a way of, I guess, getting to multiple different answers, and then you take a geometric mean of all those answers. But that was the hardest part about it. And we started off with a margin of error of about 15% across the country. So it would predict a rent, and that rent was either above or below it of where it should have been. And we got that down through refining this model to about 3% across the country, which is pretty cool. And then we determined, so I know the correlation between CV and rents across every suburb in New Zealand now. We've trained it on how to read images. So you and I look at an image and go, well, that's a beautiful property. It's been renovated. It's got Miele appliances. I would give that a 10 for a 3-bedroom property in Remuera. It does all that now.
That's amazing. I love that you just explained really complicated maths to me, and the look on your face suggested that I might even understand.
You look like you understood.
So all performance.
Yeah. It's actually, look, I love that part. The maths has always made sense.
But this is, I think, where the superpower part comes in, right? Because I think that one of your great strengths is not only can you do that stuff, that you've got this engineering brain and your ability to understand those really technical pieces, but the superpower is that you also have a really deep understanding of the rental market and property management and real estate. And so in our business, that's really powerful. You know, there are a lot of service providers out there that are all trying to sell us AI products, or we can build you anything you want. They can, but they don't think like a real estate person. And so you never quite get what you really want. So this is the product that won Bayleys the Ryan's Innovation Award last year, isn't it?
That's right. Yep.
Great. And I want to get into how things have changed from then, because you've a number of times you have said that you look back on this app that was absolutely groundbreaking, whatever it was, 10 months ago, and it looks a bit quaint now, that that technology is moving so fast that this isn't something that you build and leave. You actually have to keep evolving these things, because the underlying technology and the capability of that tech is changing so rapidly that you're spinning a plate, you've just got to keep spinning it, even while you're going to build the next one, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, look, it still looks good. I'm happy with how it looks, but the technology is it's just come so far. It's amazing how fast it's evolving. And I guess it's, when you build these things, you've got to make sure that they're done in a way where you can iterate and you can evolve it, and you're not going to wind up with all this tech debt in a couple of years, which makes it very hard to remain agile. But yeah, look, that was it. And the products that we're building now and designing are a stepping stone on that. But, as you saw at ARAC, I was talking with Dr. Bell, Sarah Bell, and her and I get on really well, and we've been talking a lot lately. One of the key things that we did that no one really knows about is the infrastructure piece behind the scenes. So what you see is the user interface, the user experience. What's being done behind the scenes is a very well thought out strategy around building out our data lake and feeding information into it. And we see that as the foundation for all these new products. And that's what people don't really appreciate, is the AI works if you've got all that data right. And a lot of people are using it and get frustrated with it because it is a little bit superficial. But to make it work for an enterprise scale business like Bayleys, you have to get that piece right. You have to get the APIs in place, the MCPs in place, all that data layer in place, and then you can really do some cool stuff. So that's what we did. That's the cool part, that won't change, and it continues to evolve.
Yeah, okay. And so that is the foundation on which we will build the future technology of this business.
The delightful Tanuki. I know you want to say it.
I do. I love the names you give these things. It's just what I'd really like is for us just to call them what they are. But anyway, that's okay.
Boring, Jen.
That's fine. Boring. So tell me, how did you go from from the rental appraisal app? How did you go from that to the next product, and to thinking more broadly about technology across this business? Like, talk to me about the evolution of that kind of, I guess, understanding and sort of breadth of strategy.
Yeah, it was simple. I was asked to do it. That's it. I mean, you give me a task and I'll give you a solution. That's just the way I work. But look, it was a conversation in Sydney, beginning of 2025, where I demonstrated the app, and I was sitting next to Carl, who runs valuations, and he's like, "Oh, hey, do you think we could do something in that space?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And we spent a few months going through his business process. Complex. Man, is that business complex, producing 36-page reports, highly regulated, carries the license, all that sort of stuff. And that's kind of where it started, is I could just see it being streamlined, and that, again, has just built momentum. We've demonstrated to the business that we can do the appraisal app, which is, by comparison, a lot easier. We can take on highly complex tasks, which is what Carl has. So we've, again, demonstrated to the business that we can do it. And that sort of led into the next phases that we're looking at now. But look, I'm so grateful, Jen, because the business keeps saying yes. And the coolest thing about this for me personally is I get to learn. I get to learn more. I mean, I now know so much about valuations that I never knew about. And I put massive amount of value on learning and having the experience. And so, that's been awesome. Like, it's now in production. It's a beast. Financial piece to it, big part of that. The product produces amazing reports. It's all done for the bank, so needs to be right.
What impact do you think that's going to have on the Bayleys valuation business or on valuation sort of more broadly?
Looks super exciting, and I think this can form the basis of a massive recruitment push for those guys, because they're all commission-based. And the way that business works is a lot of these, 80% of these valuations they do for residential properties are pushed out to them. Whoever grabs them first does it. If we can speed up that process, then they can grab more of them. Then it becomes a recruitment story. It's just super exciting. I think Bayleys valuations over the next couple of years are going to go from strength to strength.
So interesting.
Yep.
So we've got a rental product. We've got a valuations product, and I know that we're now talking about how we make significant changes in other parts of the business. How has the thinking across the business changed to support this direction? And how much of it has, let's talk about, I mean, this has been only a year. And your new role has been, how long have you been the head of innovation? Like 6-8 weeks, something like that? Maybe
officially,
a bit longer?
Unofficially a year.
Yes,
but yeah.
Exactly. So the change, things have to change in the mindsets of the people who, one, make the decisions, and two, do the work. What has worked, or what has been challenging in that space?
Well, look, I take my hat off to Mike, Ken, Macca, Duncan, the board, Chris, Eugene, all the senior leaders across the business have embraced it. You've seen what's possible and you're willing to take it on. I mean, Bayleys, we've just had the biggest year ever, haven't we? We have every reason to chuck it in neutral and hit cruise control, but we aren't. And I love that. I think that I'm doing something that I could always do. And I'm working now in an environment where people are willing to do it and can see it. So I think it's built people's confidence that when you combine people's IP, the knowledge that we have across the business, which is extensive, and then you combine it with our ability now to build products, that's a match made in heaven. It really is. And I mean, working with Ryan on the new commercial project, Project Walter, I mean, tapping into that guy's brain is wicked. It is so good. And his brief to me was, there's 115,000 properties, commercial properties in New Zealand. I want to know what's going on in all of them. So, okay, well, that's a hell of a brief, but we've pulled it off. We now know we are building that product, and man, it's so interesting.
Yeah, I think it's amazing, right? I mean, I see a lot of people around here being really challenged to think differently. And more often than not, even if they don't entirely understand, that they're prepared to go with you because of the ambition of this place. And I think that's what I find compelling as well. There's this kind of energy and momentum about like, let's try, let's run really hard at this. And you're in a space where I know that all of our competitors will be running hard at how do they leverage AI and technology to make their businesses and the people in it more efficient. And, it feels like a race. Where do you think we're at in that race? Do you have a sense of that?
In terms of versus our competitors?
Yes.
Yeah, look, I mean, I had a really good conversation with someone from a big agency at Eric in Australia, and he let on probably more than what he should have. And that agency is in a good place. I can understand what they're doing, and is very much aligned with our piece around that back-end infrastructure and that data layer and building that properly, which will be the foundation for very quick iteration. Yes. I think Bayleys is right at the front, though, and we're demonstrating that. At the end of the day, we're putting products into production that are working, that are having a meaningful impact on our business, bottom line impact. The referral business has changed significantly between sales and property management. So in terms of, I guess, where the rubber meets the road aspect, Bayleys would have to be a front runner.
Wow. We'll find out, right?
Yeah.
This is the thing.
Yeah.
We're all going hard. I also think that because everybody has the chance to do their own thing these days, because we get to essentially build it ourselves, we are going to end up with something different. It's not like we're all who's going to, jump onto this product first and leverage it.
Yeah.
Actually, every business is going to have something slightly different because the brains and the thinking within that business is going to be different from what it is, at the next competitor up the road. If that's going to be really compelling. What a time to be alive.
It's a great time to be in real estate.
It's incredible.
It really is. It is. It's a lot of fun.
So where to from here? What does the world look like? I mean, I want to say at Christmas, everything will be different. What does the world look like in this space in the coming year or so?
Within real estate?
Yeah.
Well, I think, everything we do at the moment is to make sure that we protect real estate and, we create more time for people to spend with their clients, to get on the phones, to build relationships. I just come back to the strategy. If it can be done by a computer, it should be done by a computer. Yeah. And the way the world's going, Jen, with regulation and compliance, and you and I have seen this industry change massively since, back in our Barfoot's days and the introduction of AML and all this stuff. Yeah. I mean, in property management alone, my God, I could write a book. It's incredible. And it will probably keep going that way. So if we don't come up with ways to mitigate that admin aspect and bogging our agents down, then we are going to run out of road. That's what this is about. Yeah,
it's interesting you say that because, remember when, as all of this stuff started changing with AML and the Real Estate Agents Act and, month after month, a change of a piece of legislation that was going to impact on the compliance burden in real estate. Yep. There was all these people who, looked back with, missing the old days of real estate. It would be great if it was like it was back then. Well, we are almost, in a way, we are going back to that. We are going back to a world in which we just engage with people. We have relationships. We leverage our knowledge and our influence to partner with people to help their dreams come true. And we don't have to worry too much about all of the stuff in the back end because that is going to start to be handled for us. I also think that, I have a really positive view of what AI will do for our lives. And I think that real estate professionals are absolutely in the box seat because they have this skill, this humanity, the ability to have a conversation, to build a relationship, to build trust and have influence. Those are going to be the skills that are going to be really highly valued because you can build any kind of technology you want, but fundamentally we're still human beings.
Yep.
And let me not speak for the whole of humanity, but I still want to have a human experience. That's where the joy of life is going to be. And we've got all these people in our business who maximize on that stuff.
You've nailed it. We're going to make real estate fun again. I love that.
We should get hats made.
We totally are going to get more merch made. But
we do love some merch in this business.
Oh, we do love merch. But you can always tell when you meet a real estate agent, a good one, because they talk to you.
Yes,
they have that, and I love that. you know, and this world feels like those conversations are getting less and less and less. And so I totally agree. I think we're making real estate fun again. I love that.
It's yeah, so do I. I think that, you know, that sense of conversation, right? That the ability to actually lean into it rather than worrying about what you've got to fill it. Oh, am I got to make sure I tick all these boxes on this piece of paper?
Yeah.
You know, if you can have the machines do that, it frees you up to actually really genuinely listen to somebody and ask that next question and dig a little bit deeper. And, you know, by virtue of that, you're kind of building stronger relationships too.
Yeah, and getting better results. I mean, you look at some of the stuff that we heard at ARAC was all about those top flying agents were really good at listening, weren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, we were taking on people's frustrations and problems and coming up with a solution, backing themselves to a degree. What was that guy's name that spoke on the second day from America, had the glasses on?
Tim Cook. Fantastic.
So good, eh?
Yep.
I love that. And
whatever the question, prospecting is the answer.
Yes.
I loved him.
Yeah. But that art of conversation and that ability to read people and pick up on someone's energy and connect as a human being, I love that.
Yeah,
you know,
it's powerful.
and that is powerful, and it feels like a dying art. And I think if we can get rid of all the crap in the background and bring back that's what this is about. Doing good deals, great results for people. Yeah.
No, I agree, and I think that you digitize those parts of this business at your absolute peril.
Yeah.
You know, that's you know,
100%.
All the background stuff, absolutely make responding to emails easy for me.
Yes.
But let me build that relationship, because I think that's where the real growth of this business will be long term.
I don't think Bayleys is ever going to get a Tesla robot to go and do a listing agreement.
No.
It's just a gut feel.
Are you sure? Never?
I reckon never.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we'll save this one. I'll tag it for 3 months hence when there is a Tesla robot, and we'll see where we're at. Well, I do want to share one story with you, just in terms of like the reality of the products that you're building. I have a terrible habit of impulse purchasing real estate, and I was in the auction room. I shouldn't go to the auction room. There's this beautiful little house, and I thought, oh my God, maybe I could buy it. And so I called my banker, and he said, well, would you sell the house? Yeah, asked me all these questions, and he said, look, we could probably make this happen. Can you get me a rental appraisal for it? And I spoke to a property manager, and 15 minutes later, I had a rental appraisal in my email. She just asked me a few questions about the property, did this rental appraisal, flicked it to me. I flicked it to my banker. He ran the numbers and said, yes, you can buy that property if you like. I chose not to go and have a look at the property, so I didn't buy it. But the ability for our property managers to support a sales process, that really was very impressive to me. I thought, wow, actually, this is how that product that you built for property managers is really going to impact in the residential sales business as well.
That's it.
And there'll be more and more of those. Right, I feel like I know that you and I could sit here and talk about this for much, much longer. But I'm going to wrap it there. I'm just going to ask you one final question. The question I ask everybody at the end of this podcast was one piece of advice that has genuinely made you better.
Can I have more than one piece of advice?
Why not?
I've written it down. There's more than one. So staying curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a curious person. Constant learning, always learning, but being careful about, like, I'm not on social media. I don't read the media. I'm very selective about what I read and learn, because it's a distraction. You know, God, it's it's so bad. And I guess building consistency into your life, like waking up. I mean, I stopped drinking 3 years ago. Not that I ever had a drinking problem, but every day I'm good. And I've mitigated stuff that can affect that. And so every day I can perform if I need to.
Yeah.
And consistency.
And this is that whole thing, like doing something on the regular beats talent every time.
Absolutely. I can wake up 7 days a week and be on.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything that you're doing. I'm wildly excited to try and keep up with you over the next 12 months and see where we get to.
Thank you. Loved it.
Thanks for getting all the way to the end of the Better Podcast with me, Jen Baird, and Bayleys. If you know someone who could get value out of this conversation, please share it. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to us. See you next time.